Good afternoon, everyone, and congratulations again to the Philippines Best Workplaces 2022, as well as congratulations to each and every one of you here in this room. It is so nice to finally see each and every one of you in person. It's quite unbelievable, actually. It feels so surreal, and I feel like it's better seeing you half masked than doing this event virtually again. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate seeing every one of you here. Well, believe it or not, this is also the first time that I'm seeing my team, my Philippines Best Workplaces team. Yeah, my Great Place to Work Philippines team. And so I just want to spend some time to acknowledge my team, Great Place to Work Philippines. This event won't be possible if not for them. So that also means that this is the first time that I'm back in the Philippines since after the pandemic. My family and I, we live in Singapore, and we are so excited that, we get to finally be back home. So much so that my 9-year-old son, when my husband and I woke up that morning that we were flying back to Philippines, we woke up to the sound of the Philippine national anthem. True story. He was playing it on Spotify. He was in the living room, and I was like, what's going on? He was just so excited to come back home. So, yeah, and that also means that this is the first time that I am back speaking on stage after 3 years. Those of you who've done this, you know how nerve-wracking it is, especially when you've been used to using Zoom, and then you have your cheat sheet, in front of you. But right now, I still have it. And what gives me consolation is that I am speaking, my first speaking engagement is with the leaders of Great Place to Work certified companies who are known to be, you guys, are known to be empathic and allow your people to commit mistakes. So thank you in advance for that. Well, we all know it. The past few years have been very difficult, to say the least. We all have experienced it. And let's take it from some people that I spoke with. One of them is an employee of one of the largest privately owned commercial bank in the Philippines. And when I spoke to him, he said that what describes his current state of life is survival. What keeps him going is that the need to keep himself and his family safe from the virus. I also had a chance, while doing the Insights report, to speak with one of the nurses in a privately owned hospital at the south of Manila. And he told me, I am just afraid of the future. I am facing financial challenges. I am a nurse. I have to go back to work every single day so that I can feed my family, even to the point of having to live with them, away from them for some time to keep them safe. And then occasionally, I also speak with some of my friends, and one of them is a working mom who is also a financial advisor. Well, my friend, she confided, and of course, I got permission to share this, she confided that she's just struggling to recover from the shock of the pandemic. The fear of being infected, the loneliness when it's your time, like when you finally caught COVID and you had to be isolated, that feeling of loneliness, the grief of losing loved ones and friends, and that overwhelming feeling of having to start your life all over again and not knowing in which direction does she have to begin with. So my friend said, there's just one thing that I want, Tony, and I want to feel at peace with myself. With everything that's going on, all the changes that's going on around her and within her, all she wanted is just to feel at peace. And then if you are one of the businessmen here in this room, I think you can relate to this young entrepreneur. He's actually here in this room, Matt, Carissa's husband, Matthew, and he shared, that sometimes, it's just difficult to maintain your composure, knowing that there's a lot of people who depend on you. I'm sure you leaders feel that. Those businessmen, it's like, I don't know, would I have enough money to pay for their salaries? Would I have enough money to pay for the operating expenses? That sometimes it's just too overwhelming. And on top of this, you have to deal with, again, the grief of losing some people that you love. Well, the reality is that globally, not just in the Philippines, the reality is that the state of employee well-being, it is not pretty. It's looking ugly right now, and it's not just here in our country. As part of our ongoing research at Great Place to Work, we partnered with Johns Hopkins University to do a global well-being study. So we surveyed over 14,000 people from about 37 countries worldwide, just to find out what is the state of employee well-being, as well as their day-to-day experience in life. And here's what we found, some of the highlights. You'll find the full report in our website, but some of the highlights are, globally, 4 in 10 of the employees that we surveyed, they say that they're highly satisfied with their overall well-being in life. 4 in 10. In the Philippines, any guess? Is it higher or lower? Higher? Lower? Higher? Some say lower. In the Philippines, sadly, 8 in 10 of people surveyed say that they're highly dissatisfied with the overall state of their well-being in life, not just at work, okay, in life. Globally, in Asia and in the Philippines, 7 in 10 of the people surveyed say that they are not even optimistic about the future. It's sad, right? And I'm sure, some of us can relate to this. Outside the Great Place to Work research, you are familiar with Edelman. Edelman is a global communications firm, and they study trust every year, like they do survey about trust. And in their 2020 trust barometer, they said that 6 in 10 of the people that they surveyed say that their default tendency is distrust until they receive a trustworthy evidence. I had a chance to speak with some of you and your leadership team during culture coaching sessions. And one of the things that we found is that this particular statement, people avoid politicking and backstabbing as ways to get things done. Familiar with your trust index results, right? This particular statement, in 2020, 95% of Philippines-based employees that we survey has rated this particular statement favorably. But a year later, 95% dropped to 78%. Used to be, remember the bottom scoring statements, those who, just recalling your M pricing. There's a top 5 and bottom 5. Pay, that statement about equitable pay, has always been there as a bottom scoring statement. But in the past 3 years, what we observed is that this statement took over that statement in pay. What are we seeing? It's not just that the state of employee well-being is not pretty. We are also experiencing a prevailing culture of distrust. And why is this worrying? Why do I care? Why is this even important? Why would I even be bothered about it? Number one, because psychologists, mental health professionals say that social support is crucial. It's a crucial component in one's well-being. And our global CEO, the one who gave the opening remarks earlier on the video, in his book, Great Place to Work for All, he said that we live in an economy that's about connectivity, innovation, it's about collaboration, and all of these things, as we know, require trust. And in Great Place to Work, over 30 years of research, and we've done this, we would revisit the research again and again. What we find is that what defines a great place to work is this. It's trust. Trust is imperative. It is essential to have high-performing teams and high-performing businesses. And I think this is also the one word that has pulled all of us here, all 100 of us here in this room right now, because we believe that trust is important in our business. We believe that a great place to work is one wherein you trust the people that you work with, you enjoy the people that you trust, the people that you work for, enjoy the people that you work with, and you have pride in what you do. This is the definition of great place to work. We also know, each and every one of us in this room, we also know that as leaders, trust is important. It's an important element of us in our leadership, in our success as leaders. We know that our employees need to see us as credible, respectful, and fair towards them. And we do this, we believe in all these things because as Great Place to Work certified companies, we have experienced the benefits of trust. In a study by HBR, Harvard Business Review, they have a neuroeconomics expert called Paul Zak. He said that one of the benefits of having a high-trust workplace culture is improved employee well-being. The employees of companies in a high-trust workplace, compared to those who are experiencing low trust, they experience 74% less stress, 106% more energy at their work, 29% more satisfaction with their lives, 40% less burnout. They feel 66% closer to their colleagues, enjoy their job 60% more, and they also felt 41% more sense of accomplishment. And we also know that consequentially, having a high-trust workplace culture could also mean lower voluntary turnover. It also means stronger financial performance. And the recent study by Great Place to Work, which you'll also find in the US website, is that having a high-trust workplace culture also leads to greater stability during economic downturn, which includes a pandemic. So with all these benefits that we are seeing, and all the benefits that we are happy to have heard most of you experience, the number one question that I have now is that, is trust enough? Is it still enough? With all the changes that's happening right now with the pandemic, is trust still the single most important thing for me to do? Well, the answer is that the first step is still trust. However, with the new frontier, in business, there's another thing that's important for us to do. It is to develop every ounce of human potential. And how do we do it? So I'll spend the next, how many minutes do I have more, Carissa? I'll spend the next half of my presentation talking about this. How do we develop every ounce of human potential? The key for organizations to succeed is to maximize human potential through leadership effectiveness, values, and trust as an anchor. And when you have all that, you will experience a culture called innovation by all, which leads to financial growth. Having a great place to work for all is what separates the best workplaces from the great workplaces. What we also find is that while trust fuels business performance, having a for all culture is what accelerates the business performance. Now, the best workplaces study, the list that we have, the top 25 companies that we recognized earlier, that is the local equivalent of the Fortune 100 best companies to work for list in America. And as you know, we do that annually. And from there, all the data that we have, in 2021, by the way, we were able to survey over 130,000 Philippine-based employees, which represent over 230,000 employees, representing 13 industries in the country. So possibly, this could be the biggest study on workplace culture in our country that's conducted year on year. And so what we do from this study is that we analyze it. We analyze the data, we do our own research, and then we study it. And from there, that's where we produce the, thank you, the Philippines Best Workplaces Insights report. Some of you may have seen the copies, electronic copies in the past 2 years. But this year, since we're doing physical event, we also thought it'd be so great to have a physical copy of the report as well. And you will be the very first recipient of this physical report. So you'll be getting your copies in a while. So that's what we do. We analyze all the data from all the surveys we've conducted and share the insights through this report. And so what have we found? The questions that I wanted to answer then is that, what makes the best workplace? We're all Great Place to Work certified here. And it's a funny thing, like, if I may just share, like, in Synchrony met DHL, it's like, so you're the one you're number one. So I can, everywhere, even when we do this in Singapore, there is that competitive streak still between Great Place to Work certified companies. So I wanted to answer that question. What is it? What makes the best workplace compared to a certified company or even the rest? And if we say that having a for-all culture is important, then how can we create a for-all culture? And since we're in with a group of leaders, it would be nice to also know what is my role as a leader in contributing in building that for-all culture. With trust as an anchor, this next component is values. And when we talk about values, it's not just the slogan that you have in your office wall. It's beyond the walls, the words that you have in your career web page. When we talk about values, there are 3 critical areas where we see values at work in best workplaces. So these are values at best workplaces, and in everyone, most of the companies, right, you would have values that are clearly articulated. But at the best workplaces, their values set as a foundation in the day-to-day practices of their employees. The leaders also use the values to guide them in their decision-making. And that's exactly what we've seen, even during critical moments. You've submitted your culture audit to us, this was I think 2 years ago, and shared with us how your values guided you in responding to your employees, in helping your employees, in putting your employees first during the pandemic. Some also shared how, with the calamities that are happening in the country, because of the values that you espouse, you also give back to the community, because that is something important to you. So during critical moments, values is what guide us as leaders. So we see it as a foundation in the daily practices as well as during critical decisions or moments that we make. And what we also found is that at best workplaces, those are the black bars, compared to the organizations, companies that didn't make it, that are not best. What we find is that best workplaces, the leaders espouse the company values. The employees say it's like 9 in every 10 of their employees say that management's actions match its words. Management delivers on its promises. But then, Tony, we know this. We know that values is important. We also have it in our office walls and everywhere in our company. Why are you talking about this right now? I'll give you 2 reasons. First is that in today's business landscape, if we just be real to leaders, the amount of decisions that we are making right now is just a lot more than it was probably 3 years ago. And the pace that we need to make decisions is faster than how it was years ago. And the truth is that, honestly, we don't know the answer all the time. It is when values become more important for us. When we don't know the answer, we just go back to our values and make decisions based on those values. With everyone half-masked, I maybe just want to engage with you a bit more. I want to ask, before I proceed to the second answer and why values is important, how many of you, if you try to recall your first job, right? Some of you that might be like 5 years ago, others might be way back 15, 20 years ago, like myself. Oh, and I have a colleague here, sorry, Jen, colleague in one of my first jobs. So that was like about, I think, 15, 20 years ago for us. If you go back to that moment when you applied to your very first job, show of hands, how many of you, before sending your resume to that company, researched what the values of that company was and the purpose of that company? None, right? All I had was Manila Bulletin that my dad slipped into my door and say, apply. I didn't have anything else. And so I submit my CV. But right now, what we see is that by the minute, more and more Gen Zs are becoming full-fledged employees. There is a study that says by 2030, yes, 30% of the global workforce will be composed of Gen Zs. And to this generation, unlike us, no one raised their hands, they know your company values even before they meet you. They actually know you. They've stalked you on LinkedIn. They know what you represent as a person and as a company, right? And that is what we heard, precisely what we heard from Diane Iko, an employee of Ingram Micro. We had a chance to do Humans of Great Workplaces podcast with Diane. And Diane shared that it is important to choose a company that also reflects your values, because for them, it's an extension of yourself. Together with us right now is Sam White, Ingram Micro's HR head. Thanks, Sam. So that is why value is more important. We all know it, but the generation, if you want to hire, attract, retain, and engage Gen Zs, the next generation, we as leaders need to espouse, we need to embody the values of our organization. The second component is leadership effectiveness. The third, trust, values, leadership effectiveness. And our research shows that there are two distinguished factors of effective leaders. And these are, a leader have like a coherent and effective strategy at every level of the organization. And second, they have sincere emotional connection with their people. So being a leader, it's not just anymore about being smart and able to make decisions, business decisions. Right now, what's equally important is that we are able to have that sincere connection with each and every one of our employees. Like, do your employees find you approachable and easy to talk with? Do they feel that you are sincerely interested in them as a person, not just someone who needs to deliver an output by the end of the day? And again, do they see you fully embody the characteristics of your company? Again, if you've had a culture coaching session with me, you would hear me say most likely that authentic leadership is what separates the best from the rest. I've seen it many times. It's not just in the Philippines, Singapore, ASEAN. Oftentimes, when the employees feel very well connected, it's not even policies or processes. A lot of organizations have those fantastic fantastic programs. Like you name it, they have it. But what separates the best from the rest is that human touch, that connection between you and your employees. Let's take it from Synchrony. So Ed Matuling is also here with us, and he'll be one of the panelists. Synchrony shared some of their stories with us, and Synchrony is a three-peat best workplace, and they've experienced just that. 98% of their about 3,500 employees say that taking everything into account, Synchrony is a great place to work. But what's even more fantastic is that when we ask their employees, also 98, close to 100% of their employees, when we ask them, how much confidence do you have with your leaders? 98% of them said, a great deal. So what can we learn from Synchrony? Leaders at Synchrony, they spend time explaining to their employees how their individual contributions, their individual role connect to the overall organization, to the business, as well as the culture of the company, okay? And the reality is that, why would I spend so much time doing that? Not everyone would get it. Not all of the employees will really understand when I talk to them about business or the purpose. Not everyone does. But at Synchrony, they're mindful to still do it, not just because people would understand it or not, because they want them to feel valued. People feel that they are valued when you connect with them, when they feel that they are heard, when they feel that they matter to you as their leader. So at Synchrony, it's not just about having high-tech programs, right? And we all have that. Name the app, we have it. It's not just about that. It's about high touch. So with the performance management process, which is often tedious, at Synchrony, their employees look forward to doing that because it's an opportunity not just to talk about performance on the job. It's also an opportunity to talk about their well-being and also to talk about their overall career plans, career aspiration. And it's no surprise that's why that even Synchrony exceeds, outperforms Philippines' best workplaces under large category, the red bar, when it comes to these characteristics and behavior of their leaders. Now, again, we all know that leaders are important. It's timeless, right? It's a timeless fact. But why is it even more important right now? Let's do a bit of exercise. Have you raise your hand if you had a conversation with your employee about their personal problems? I think I'm seeing 100% of you raising your hands. Show of hands again. How many of you would say Tony, that's happening more frequently right now, at least in the past 2 years, than it was before the pandemic. Exactly, right? That is why your connection to your employees are important. When I arrived, I went to a party. Yeah, met with families, had a party, my sister's gender reveal party, and one of my cousins went to me and said that she was saying she's an artist, and she said like, okay, I just got promoted, she's excited, now frontline manager. But she said, I'm losing my passion, I'm not happy about this. And I said, why? Like, it's great, you're now a manager. She said, yeah, but all I do is like I'm a therapist. I have to listen to everyone's problem. At the end of the day, I don't get to do my job. And that I don't have time for my own problem. That's the truth, right? Like, that is now, like with all of you raising your hands, it's like, it's now part of the job. And that's why it's important for us to have that connection with our employees. The reality is that the world has changed so much, right? It has changed so much. Who we work with has changed. Where we work, how we work, it all has changed. But has leadership changed? Is it still the same? The way that leadership was before, command and control, cannot survive. It would not work the way that the work has evolved right now. Leadership also has to evolve from that command and control to one that is about trust and inspire. We need positive leadership to navigate the organizations through these changes. So we've covered with trust as an anchor, values and leadership effectiveness. When we have that, then that's the key. We will experience maximizing human potential of our employees. If there is a magic in best workplaces, it is this. It is their ability to bring out the best of all their people's talent with an extraordinary high degree of consistency. You all know that to be a great place to work certified, we measure trust. Is there trust in your organization? But to be the best, it's not just about trust. Is there consistency in what your employee experience? All employees at every pocket of your organization, do they have consistent positive experience? So regardless whether your next hire is an extrovert or an introvert, a working mom with kids still, studying from home, or a widower, regardless of the demographic profile of your employee, that new hire should feel that I do have an equal chance to succeed in this organization. That regardless of my demographic profile that defines me, I will be valued. The company sees the importance of what I produce and contribute to the organization. Trust is about the overall results, but maximizing human potential is about the consistency of your employee experience. And what we see is that it is maximizing human potential that turns a great place to work into a best workplace. So if you wonder about that, and those who have done culture coaching sessions, that's also what you see. Like, you look at the demographic results. Best workplaces, when we look at their results, it's like really a straight line. The bars are almost close to straight because every employee, regardless of what demographic cut you're looking into, their employees experience the same. Now, how do we do it then? If this is the key, if this is very important right now, what can I do as a leader to maximize my employees' potential? There are 4 things that we found. One is ensure equity. Ensure equity. Like, we need to ensure equity in all business and process. Like, people process, from the time that you hire someone, performance management, developing, employees should feel that there's equitable process. There's an equal chance for them. Second is by building belonging. We need to build belonging by being intentional in creating company practices that targets differences. Like, employees need to feel that they belong in your organization. But at the same time, they also need to feel that my uniqueness is also recognized. So it's really a juggling act, right? Like, you put them together, but then at the same time, I see your unique contribution to this organization. And the fourth, which honestly, I think is an opportunity for many of us here in the Philippines, is to help develop for all leaders. Just like the story that I told you about my cousin, like how would she be able to support, her staff? Being able to articulate what is a for all leader like in our organization, and making sure that it's embedded in all the practices that we have. But more importantly, that we as leaders, as CEOs and HR heads, are seen as for all leaders as well. Ira is here with us from Accenture, and let's share one of the things that they are doing to maximize human potential. So Accenture is the #3 Philippines best workplace under large organization category, and they're highly committed to delivering on the promise of human potential and ingenuity. Accenture believes that a diverse culture is a multiplier for innovation. 89% of employees at Accenture, and there are 72,000 employees, 89% of them say that taking everything into account, Accenture is a great place to work. 82% of those 72,000 employees say that I can be myself around here. And there are many ways that Accenture, like in their culture audit, there are so many ways that they do to maximize their human potential. But one thing that I found unique to Accenture, which is also a best practice for them, is that they have what they call an accessibility center. This is one of their most innovative and human-centric initiatives. So what is Accessibility Center? So it's their way to address the different needs of their employees. So it goes like providing them wider selection of headsets, speech-to-text software, magnifying tools, innovative keyboards. So whatever it is that their employees need to be able to be productive at their work, Accenture provides that to their employees. And just in 2020, they were able to support 1,200 of their employees with best fit technology and provided 11,000 preventive technologies to various teams. What is amazing is that it started in the Philippines and that other countries, China, Malaysia, Japan, India, are also replicating what Accenture Philippines is doing. And currently, they are establishing, Philippines team who started this is working, collaborating with 17 other countries to also form their accessibility center. And it is no wonder that if you look at the statements about inclusion at Accenture, again, the red bar, they also outperform or on par with the Philippines' best workplaces. Why is this important? Why is maximizing human potential important right now? I'm going to ask you to do a bit more now than raise your hand. If your company is more diverse now than when you first joined your company, please stand up. If your company, sorry, let me flash it. If you find your company more diverse now than when you first joined, please stand up. Okay. Remain standing if your company has DEI initiatives. Great. You do have it. Nobody said. Now remain standing if your company is diverse when it comes to gender and or age. Yeah? Last question. Remain standing if your company is diverse when it comes to other aspects, not just gender and age. So if you look around you, you would see why maximizing human potential is important. Thank you for standing up. Today's workforce is more diverse than ever. And we need to create an inclusive culture for all that will allow us to maximize diversity. The differences, we need to turn that and make it into our strength. Once we are able to maximize human potential, what we then see is what we call an innovation by all culture. This means that when you have an innovation by all culture, regardless of your employee's role, regardless of where they sit, whatever their profile is, they are able to contribute in the betterment of the business. And this only happens when your employees feel that they're trusted, when they feel that they're encouraged, empowered to do new things. and also celebrated. There's a study by McKinsey that says that prioritizing innovation is the key to unlocking post-crisis growth. 3 in every 4 executives that they surveyed said that they believe the post-pandemic provided massive opportunities for the business. I see people nodding, so I think you agree, there are massive opportunities for the business. But however, only 30% of those people surveyed feel confident to seize those opportunities. What we see in best workplaces is that leaders encourage innovation by celebrating people who try new and better ways of doing business. They seek ideas and suggestions, and they also involve people in decisions that affect their jobs. It sounds simple, really, right? But then the reality is that I think what's stopping us as leaders from doing that is that it requires time. It requires effort, mindfulness to do it. To win in a constantly changing and disruptive marketplace, it's clear we need more collaboration and to continuously innovate. So in closing, I want to bring you back to this Edelman study about distrust. I really got so curious about this. And that there are 3 things that they said in their study. Number 1, the cycle of distrust that they're seeing, it is because of failure in leadership. Well, that failure in leadership, that distrust is seen more in government and in mainstream media. This is global, by the way, it's not just in the Philippines, okay? But here's the good news for all of us. Trust in business remains, which makes the employee-employer relationship even more important right now. So indulge me one last time and turn to the person to your right and say, your relationship with your employee is more important than ever before. Turn to the person to your left and say, yours too, you know. Stephen Covey, a leadership guru that I'm sure many of us follow, say that there are 2 epic imperatives in leaders today. Number 1, for us to win in the workplace, we need to create a high-trust workplace culture. And for us to win in the marketplace, we need to continuously collaborate and innovate. Now, this is a call for us leaders, and how are we going to respond to this call? We have a choice to make. We need not just to commit to have a high-trust workplace culture, we need to commit to have a great place to work for all. And by doing this, we are bound for recovery. And the good news is that it starts right here, right where we all are. The best with a great place to work certified companies. Before I left Singapore, the day before I left, we had an ASEAN ANZ leadership team retreat. And one of our regional directors said, alone, you run fast. Together, you run far. 3 years ago, when we started Great Place to Work, the last time that I was here, I was telling Sam that the last time I was at their office, we only had a handful of Great Place to Work certified companies. And if you look around, it is really amazing and humbling to see how much we've grown, how much our community have grown in a span of 3 years amidst the pandemic. Because alone, we run far, but together, we run. Alone, we run fast, but together, we run far. And so I want to close by thanking all of you on behalf of my team, on behalf of Great Place to Work. I want to thank you for joining us in advancing our mission, in creating a better world, in creating a better Philippines by building Great Place to Work for all. Thank you.